Hello, this is Leo, and in this video we're going to teach you how to think in a poker hand. Now, ask yourself the question that if you are in a poker hand, do you only focus on your hand and what's on the board? Because that's what the basic is, what you need to do. But the most important thing is to recognize what kind of players are around you. And on most poker sites online, I play on GG Poker, and on PokerStars you can enable a HUD if you have Poker Tracker. It tracks your opponents on how they roughly play, so you can make decisions based upon how your opponents are playing, and that is more important than your own hand and what's on the board. For example, if you play on GG Poker, you have like 3 or 4 stats about your opponent, and let's say he doesn't play a lot of hands, so sometimes you see 18%. That's just a tight player, we call that. If he's in the blind, for example, and you want to steal the blind, you really want to steal from the player who doesn't play a lot of hands. And it doesn't matter what kind of hand you have at that moment. So that's more important than waiting for the right hand to act, because let's say you have a reasonable hand of Jack 10 offsuit, and there's a very good player in the big blind. I rather steal with 7 deuce against a tight player in the big blind than play a large pot with Jack 10 against a good player in the big blind. So that's just a little example of knowing what kind of opponents are on your table is more important than what kind of hand do I have. Now, if you are in the hand, you play it, then you should look at the opponent again. Is he a good player? Then you need to be a little bit more trickier with your bets. You cannot make it obvious what you have. If it's a really tight player and he's betting a lot, you can assume that he has something. So maybe slow play if you really have a hand and let him do all the betting. If it's a good player, don't make it too obvious, so make your bets a little bit smaller and try to be in position against a good player. And it's always a wise decision to be in position also against a bad player. But so position awareness, what kind of player do I have against me, is more important than your own hand. And if you are in the hand, try to figure out what did he do pre-flop, on the flop, and what kind of bet sizing is he using. Try to figure out if he's on a draw, does he have something. I know it's a lot to think about when you're in the hand, and if you can only think about your own hand, what's on the board, then maybe try to pick one item first. So try to discover what kind of player you're playing against. Is he good, or is he tight, or is he loose? Start by doing just that next to your hand. If you did that a couple of sessions and it starts to go more automatic, try to add another thing to think about. So think of what kind of range your player is playing, or try to remember what kind of bets did he use pre-flop, what position he's in. There are all kind of things you have to consider when you play a hand, so not just your own hand. And I know sometimes for a beginning player it's a lot of information to do all together, but what I said, pick 1 or 2 things to train, use it a couple of sessions till you notice it goes a little bit easier, and then add the next one. So, and don't play too many tables, because if you play 4 tables at once, you have less time and it's more difficult to focus on those things. So play 1 table and try to think about as many things as possible when you're in the hand. There are my few tips of how to think when you're in a poker hand. And if you find this information useful, subscribe to this channel, because I'm helping beginner poker players to become better and even winning players. And see in the description below that you can buy a course of me on Udemy, and leave a comment if you want to learn more, because I'm making webinars and making a new course for the beginner poker player. So that's all I had on how to think in a poker hand. Thank you.